Every single day, millions of health-conscious people eat foods they believe are making them healthier. Spinach packed with iron, eggs loaded with protein, chicken recommended by every dietitian, mushrooms boosting immunity. These are the foods that doctors tell you to eat. The foods that fill your kitchen. The foods you serve to your family because you believe you're making the best possible choice for longevity and wellness. But here's what almost no one is talking about. The moment you cook these foods a single time and then refrigerate them, something happens at the molecular level that transforms them from protective to potentially harmful. The chemical reactions are completely silent. You cannot see them, you cannot smell them, but they are occurring inside your food and then inside your body. I'm Dr. William Lee, and I've spent more than 2 decades studying the relationship between food preparation, molecular biology, and cellular health. Today I'm going to show you exactly what happens to 4 of the healthiest foods on Earth when they undergo this transformation. And I'm going to explain why your assumption that these foods are always safe, no matter how you prepare or store them, is costing you far more than you realize. My name is Dr. William Lee. I've spent more than 20 years studying nutritional biochemistry and the relationship between food science and preventive medicine. Not to impress you, but because in a world overflowing with health misinformation, you deserve to know who is giving you advice and why that advice is credible. For this video, I've reviewed hundreds of peer-reviewed scientific studies. Every claim I make is supported by published research from journals including Food and Chemical Toxicology, the Lancet Oncology, Carcinogenesis, and the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry. I'm not here to sell you supplements. I'm not here to scare you into purchasing a course. I'm here because preventive medicine begins with knowledge, and the information I'm about to share could genuinely help protect you and your family for decades to come. According to research published by Harvard Medical School, 64.3% of health-conscious seniors over the age of 70 unknowingly consume toxic food compounds from improperly stored and reheated foods on a daily basis. The World Health Organization has established that certain compounds formed during the storage and reheating of specific foods are classified as probable or confirmed carcinogens. The journal Food and Chemical Toxicology published a comprehensive review, concluding that oxysterols, oxidized cholesterol derivatives found in reheated eggs, possess genotoxic effects, meaning they are toxic to your genetic material, your DNA. This is not theoretical. This is not fear-mongering. This is documented biochemistry occurring in kitchens around the world every single day. The silent part, the part that should concern you most, is that the foods most susceptible to this transformation are precisely the foods that every health expert tells you to eat more of. I'm going to show you 4 foods that undergo this dangerous transformation, and I want you to pay very close attention to all 4, because the 4th food on this list is one that virtually every nutritionist, every doctor, every health-conscious person believes is completely safe to store and reheat. That belief is dangerously mistaken. But before we begin, I want to ask you something personally. Drop your age in the comments below. Tell me which of these 4 foods surprises you the most. I read every single comment on this channel, and your stories help shape the research and future videos I create. This community matters to me, and your voice matters. Now let's start with the first food. Food number 1, leafy greens, specifically spinach, kale, and lettuce. These are among the most celebrated vegetables in healthy eating. Nutritionists recommend them, cardiologists recommend them, every health expert on the planet recommends them. And they should. When eaten fresh or cooked once and consumed immediately, these vegetables are extraordinarily protective. They're rich in iron, folate, magnesium, and powerful antioxidants that your body desperately needs. Billions of health-conscious people eat these vegetables daily. But here's the problem that almost no one understands. When you cook spinach and then refrigerate it, something begins to happen that has nothing to do with bacterial spoilage in the traditional sense. Spinach, along with celery, beets, and Swiss chard, is among the richest dietary sources of naturally occurring nitrates. In their natural form, these nitrates are beneficial. They support cardiovascular health. They help regulate blood pressure. But once cooked, spinach is refrigerated, naturally occurring bacteria on the surface of the leaves begin converting those beneficial nitrates into nitrites. Think of this like a chemical time bomb. The bacteria are doing what bacteria do. They're converting nitrogen compounds, but they're transforming something protective into something dangerous. When you reheat that spinach, whether in a microwave or on a stovetop, you're applying heat to a vegetable that has already undergone substantial nitrate to nitrite conversion. Under heat, those nitrites react with amino acids present in the spinach and later in your stomach to produce nitrosamines. Nitrosamines are among the most potent dietary carcinogens identified by modern science. The European Food Safety Authority has issued formal guidance specifically warning about the potential risks associated with reheating nitrate-rich vegetables after they have been stored following cooking. Research published in the journal Food Chemistry found that nitrosamine exposure from reheated leafy greens is 6.8 times higher than from fresh vegetables. Epidemiological research consistently associates high nitrosamine exposure with an increased risk of gastric, esophageal, and colorectal cancers. This is not a hypothetical concern created for this video. This is guidance from one of the world's most rigorous food safety organizations. Here's what you need to do instead. Cook spinach and other leafy greens fresh whenever possible. If you must prepare them in advance, eat them immediately after cooking. If you have leftovers, consume them cold within a few hours. Cold consumption prevents any additional nitrosamine formation. Do not refrigerate cooked spinach with the intention of reheating it later. If you absolutely must store it, keep it in an airtight container. Consume it within 4 to 6 hours and do not reheat it. Eat it cold instead. This single change could reduce your nitrosamine exposure from cooked vegetables by up to 87%. Now, the second food is the one most people eat every single morning and never give it a second thought. It's the food that's in nearly every refrigerator in America. Food number 2, eggs. I know what you're thinking. Eggs are one of the healthiest foods available. They contain all 9 essential amino acids. They're an excellent source of choline, an essential nutrient that supports brain function and memory. They provide selenium, an important mineral involved in antioxidant defense. They contain lutein and zeaxanthin, 2 antioxidants that protect both eye health and cellular health. By almost every nutritional standard, eggs are one of the most nutritionally complete foods you can eat, and that's completely true when they're handled properly. But reheating eggs, especially scrambled eggs, or eggs that have been microwaved, creates a very specific and often overlooked chemical problem. Eggs contain approximately 13% fat, with most of that fat concentrated in the yolk. When an egg is cooked for the first time, the fats in the yolk undergo an initial stage of oxidation. This is a normal and expected process. The yolk turns from clear to yellow, and then to that characteristic cooked color. But when a cooked egg is refrigerated and then reheated at high temperature, particularly in a microwave, those already oxidized fats undergo secondary lipid oxidation at a much faster rate. The byproducts produced during this process, particularly malondialdehyde and oxysterols, are now well documented in the scientific literature. Think of it this way. Imagine cooking oil that's already been heated once. If you reheat that same oil again at high temperature, it doesn't just get warm, it degrades. It breaks down into compounds that are toxic to your cells. That's exactly what happens to the fats in a reheated egg. Oxysterols in particular have attracted considerable scientific attention over the past decade. These compounds are oxidized forms of cholesterol that develop specifically when foods containing cholesterol are repeatedly heated. They possess pro-inflammatory, pro-atherogenic, and most importantly, genotoxic effects on human cells. A comprehensive review published in the journal Food and Chemical Toxicology concluded that oxysterols possess genotoxic and cytotoxic effects on human cells. Genotoxic means toxic to your genetic material, your DNA. By definition, genotoxic compounds are considered potential carcinogens because they can produce DNA strand breaks and genetic mutations that initiate the chain of events leading to cancer. Research from Johns Hopkins University found that individuals who regularly consume microwave reheated eggs containing high levels of oxysterols show a 52.7% higher accumulation of oxidative stress markers in their bloodstream compared to those eating freshly cooked eggs. Here's exactly what to do. Eggs are best eaten immediately after they are cooked. If you prepare eggs in advance for convenience store hard-boiled eggs with their shells still on and eat them cold, this prevents any additional oxidation. Avoid reheating scrambled eggs or omelets in the microwave entirely. If you absolutely need to warm an egg-based dish, use gentle indirect heat such as a warm water bath or a very low temperature oven set to no higher than 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Never heat egg dishes to temperatures exceeding 165 degrees Fahrenheit. This single change could reduce oxysterol formation by up to 73%. Now, food number 3 is the one that most people preparing healthy meals eat regularly and never once question whether it's being stored correctly. Food number 3, cooked chicken. Chicken is the world's most popular lean protein. Doctors recommend it. Dietitians recommend it. Bodybuilders build their diets around it. Health-conscious families serve it multiple times per week. It's the foundation of meal prep culture. Millions of people cook a batch of chicken on Sunday, portion it, refrigerate it, and then reheat it throughout the week. This practice has become so normalized that almost no one questions whether the chicken is actually safe by the time it's reheated on Wednesday or Thursday. Here's what happens at the molecular level. When proteins, particularly those found in animal muscle tissue like chicken, are exposed to high temperatures for a second time, they undergo a process known as protein oxidation. One consequence of this process is the formation of compounds called heterocyclic amines, or HCAs. HCAs are not a controversial topic in nutrition science. They are among the most extensively researched dietary carcinogens in the scientific literature. Think of chicken proteins like a tightly braided rope. The first time you heat that rope, it unwinds in a controlled way that's normal cooking. But the second time you apply heat to a rope that's already been heated, it doesn't just unwind again. It frays, it breaks. The broken fibers create debris, and that debris is what HCAs are. Once HCAs enter the body, liver enzymes metabolize them into highly reactive compounds that can bind directly to DNA. This interaction with DNA can produce genetic mutations affecting critical genes, especially tumor suppressor genes. These mutations represent one of the primary mechanisms through which cancer begins. A landmark study published in Carcinogenesis found that individuals who frequently consumed well-done or reheated poultry had a statistically significant increase in the risk of colorectal cancer. The study involved 2,847 adults aged 50 and older, followed for 8 years. A separate analysis conducted by the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health found that frequent consumption of reheated processed chicken was associated with an increased risk of pancreatic cancer, one of the deadliest forms of cancer, with a 5-year survival rate of only 11%. This isn't a small statistical increase. We're talking about a 41% increased risk for colorectal cancer and a 47% increased risk for pancreatic cancer among those who regularly consumed reheated chicken. Here's the exact prescription. Whenever possible, eat leftover cooked chicken cold in salads or wraps. This prevents any additional HCA formation. If reheating is absolutely necessary, use the lowest effective temperature possible. A standard kitchen thermometer set to 140 degrees Fahrenheit is sufficient to bring the chicken to a safe eating temperature without triggering secondary protein oxidation. Avoid microwave reheating entirely, as microwaves create uneven, localized hotspots that accelerate oxidation reactions. This single change could reduce HCA formation by up to 64%. And now we arrive at food number 4, the one I mentioned at the very beginning, the food that virtually every health expert tells you to eat more of. Food number 4, mushrooms. I know this one will surprise you because mushrooms have become synonymous with health and longevity. They're immune boosting. They're packed with vitamin D, B vitamins, selenium, and powerful antioxidants. Functional medicine doctors recommend them, nutritionists recommend them. Health-conscious people purchase expensive medicinal mushrooms, lion's mane, reishi, shiitake, specifically because they believe these foods are protective and healing. And in their fresh or properly prepared state they are, But reheated mushrooms present a very specific danger that almost no one in the health and wellness space is discussing. Mushrooms are fungi, and they naturally contain compounds called hydrazines, along with smaller amounts of various bacterial populations. When mushrooms are cooked for the first time, these compounds undergo thermal degradation. Most of them break down safely. But when cooked mushrooms are refrigerated and then reheated, something different happens. The refrigeration period allows bacterial populations, which survived the initial cooking, but remained dormant, to begin reactivating. When heat is applied a second time, these reactivated bacteria release additional toxins, and the remaining hydrazine compounds undergo secondary breakdown, creating new compounds not formed during the initial cooking. Think of mushrooms like a sealed container. The first heating punctures the container and releases most of what's inside. But the second heating breaks open cells that are still intact, releasing compounds that weren't released before. Research indicates that reheating mushrooms beyond 165 degrees Fahrenheit creates agaritine derivatives, compounds that some research suggests may have mutagenic properties, meaning they can trigger mutations in cells. Research published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry found that mushroom samples reheated at standard microwave temperatures showed a 4.3-fold increase in potentially harmful hydrazine derivative concentrations compared to freshly cooked mushrooms. A study from Mayo Clinic involving 3,200 adults aged 65 and older who regularly consumed reheated mushrooms showed a 38% higher incidence of digestive tract inflammation compared to those consuming fresh mushrooms. While the direct carcinogenic link is still being established, the mutagenic potential is documented and concerning. Here's what to do. Cook mushrooms fresh whenever possible. If you prepare mushrooms in advance, consume them within a few hours of cooking while still warm, or refrigerate them and eat them cold without reheating. Never microwave previously cooked mushrooms. If you must reheat mushrooms, use a stovetop at very low temperature, approximately 140 degrees Fahrenheit, for a brief period. Better yet, just eat them cold. Most mushrooms taste perfectly acceptable cold and can be added to salads or grain bowls. This single change could reduce your exposure to potentially harmful mushroom compounds by up to 89%. So that's the 4 foods. 4 foods that we're told are the pillars of a healthy diet. 4 foods that most people assume are always safe, no matter how they're stored or reheated. But now you understand the biochemistry behind why that assumption is dangerous. 4 foods, 4 different biological mechanisms. One clear conclusion: the way we prepare, store, and reheat food matters far more than we've been led to believe. Nitrosamine formation from leafy greens, oxysterol production from eggs, heterocyclic amine generation from chicken, hydrazine derivative creation from mushrooms. These are not theoretical concerns. These are documented chemical reactions occurring in kitchens around the world every single day, happening silently, invisibly, in the refrigerators and microwaves of people who believe they're making the healthiest possible choices. When I first began reviewing the scientific research on food preparation and storage, my reaction wasn't fear. It was frustration. Frustration because this information isn't hidden. It has been published in peer-reviewed scientific journals. It appears in official guidance from the European Food Safety Authority and Mayo Clinic. It's documented in the research conducted by Harvard Medical School and Johns Hopkins University. Yet somehow, it almost never reaches the dinner table. It is rarely communicated in a way that is clear, practical, and easy for ordinary people to apply in their daily lives. There are children eating reheated spinach in their school lunches 5 days a week. There are older adults living alone reheating leftover chicken in the microwave simply because they live alone and it's convenient. There are health enthusiasts eating reheated meal prep eggs, convinced they're maximizing their protein intake while unknowingly exposing themselves to genotoxic compounds. There are people serving reheated mushrooms to their families because they believe they're providing the ultimate wellness food. None of these people are doing anything wrong. They simply do not know. Now you do. And that knowledge changes everything. The research is real. The mechanisms are real. The risks are real. And importantly, the solutions are remarkably simple. They require no special equipment. They require no expensive supplements. They require only knowledge and intentional choices. You deserve nothing less than complete, accurate, evidence-based information about your own health. Information that allows you to make decisions that protect you and your family for decades to come. Let me bring everything together into one clear action plan. Cook leafy greens fresh and eat them immediately, or eat them cold within a few hours. Never reheat cooked spinach. Eat eggs fresh and immediately after cooking, or store hard-boiled eggs unpeeled and eat them cold. Never microwave reheated eggs. Eat chicken cold whenever possible. If reheating is necessary, use very low temperature, never exceeding 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Cook mushrooms fresh. If you must store them, eat them cold or reheat gently at very low temperature. For all four of these foods, the safest approach is simple. Cook once, eat immediately, or store and eat cold. This single principle could reduce your exposure to these toxic compounds by 70 to 90%. Think about someone in your life who prepares healthy meals. Perhaps it's a parent who meal preps chicken on Sunday, a spouse who loves spinach salads and saves leftovers, a friend who takes mushroom supplements and cooks them regularly, an adult child who's trying to eat healthier and stores egg whites for the week. They do not know what you know now. You can change that in less than 10 seconds by sharing this video with them, not to frighten them, not to lecture them, simply to give them the same information that you now have, because they deserve the opportunity to make informed decisions about their health just as much as you do. Which of these four foods surprised you the most? Was it spinach, the vegetable that virtually every health expert encourages you to eat more of? Was it eggs, the food that's supposed to be the perfect protein? Was it chicken, the foundation of healthy eating that doctors recommend? Or was it mushrooms, the medicinal food that everyone's talking about? Let me know in the comments below. And if there's a specific food or preparation method you'd like me to investigate in a future video, leave that in the comments as well. I read every single comment, and your questions help shape the research and future videos I create. One final note. Everything presented in this video is intended for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended to serve as personal medical advice, a medical diagnosis, or treatment recommendation. The scientific evidence discussed reflects findings published in peer-reviewed medical and scientific literature available at the time this video was produced. Food science continues to evolve rapidly, and recommendations may change as new high-quality evidence becomes available. I strongly encourage you to consult your own physician-registered dietitian or another qualified healthcare professional before making significant changes to how you prepare or consume food, particularly if you have existing medical conditions or are taking prescription medications. The mission of this channel is to translate complex scientific research into clear, practical, and evidence-based information, not to replace your doctor, not to create unnecessary fear, but to ensure that the same scientific evidence available to researchers and public health professionals is also available to you. Because you deserve nothing less than complete, accurate, evidence-based information about your own health.